Okay, so the advantage of having created that template, now when I go into new, whichever one of the folders, the default, wherever we save that, I now have my part millimeter, and rather than the custom or having different combinations, now I have the defaults that I was looking at. So 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places in inches, my blue origin. Some of the items, not all of the items, are going to be saved with the template. So you're going to have to kind of observe what travels with the part template. All right, so some of these are system settings, and we'll need to save those as a copy settings wizard, which is also another video, but just to point out the location where it's at. All right, so let's take a quick look at our drawing. I want to kind of compare, contrast between the Boss Base Extrude and the Revolve. And so we're going to build this as the 2 discs stacked up on each other. And actually I needed to fly that out so I have access to the numbers. All right, so I'm going to go to the top plane, and at this point it doesn't matter if you're on the front plane or the right plane, top plane. Start to think about where you're going to want, what kind of orientation you're going to visualize these in, and that's going to help you later on. So I picked the top plane, I went into the sketch, my fingers did it without even thinking about it, but a right click on the top plane, and then the upper left is going to be the new sketch. All right, so we'll point that out again. I'm going to go into the circle, and I'm looking for that coincidence to the origin. So the center point of the circle with that little yellow box is automatically going to add the coincident relation. All right, so nothing shows up over here just yet. I'm going to go ahead and add another one. Okay, and then if I right click and select or hit escape on the keyboard and come back, and I'm going to see coincident 0. All right, and then if I pick on the circles, on the perimeters of the circles, we don't really get anything. Those are, just they're there for now. We haven't created anything. So I go up to Smart Dimension, puts me into my dimension tool. The outside is 80 millimeters. Placement, if I kind of move around, I can go from linear to diametral. And because it is a circle, we're going to go automatically into diameter. If I wanted a radius for some reason, then I would have to change it. So we enter the 80 value, and then the through hole is 10. All right, so that's going to add the first segment of the hole. I could also add the 8 millimeter drive pin location over here. So you have to decide how much you want to build. If there's going to be changes, and it's going to be an advantage to have separate features, then there's nothing that says this all has to be in one sketch. Alright, so my selection, select the center point, Control select the origin. We're going to apply a horizontal relation. If I miss it on the context box, I can always come over to the left on the property manager and select horizontal. Now we go right click and Smart Dimension, or up to Smart Dimension. And one of those is going to become your preference. And if you watch the videos, I've used both. It's kind of whichever one I'm in the mindset for. And then pick the circle, apply the 8 millimeters. Again, the dimensions are always going to be pick the object or objects, come out to some location, click again. That will bring up the modify box, and then you can add the value. All right. So if I go into the leaders, I mentioned that if I wanted a radius instead of a diameter, I can switch between radial and diametral. Okay, so we'll leave it as a diameter. Go on. Alright, so this is going to extrude to a thickness of 5 millimeters. So features, extrude, blind in condition, enter the value. As long as that's highlighted in blue, I can just start typing and it's going to overwrite. Tab button will update. And then I have to decide how I want to build this. If I would like the part to be at kind of the mid plane on going through the top, then I want to, we're still blind, we still want to reverse the direction. All right, so if I reverse that direction, then this is going kind of in that, I don't often use positive or negative dimensions, but the y value, it's going away from us in y. All right, so if I open up that sketch on a new face, all right, which is still the top plane, I can reuse the existing, and let's see, the outside's going to be 22. So we have a couple of options. One of my favorite is going to be, I'm using the middle mouse button to rotate over. We're going to grab that inside edge and then convert entities. Convert entities does the same thing as if I was to draw the circle and make it co-radial. All right, so combinations, just throwing out relations, so you hear the terms and kind of think about what they're going to be doing, that how they equate to each other. All right, so when I do a convert entities, it comes up with this on-edge geometry, and we can use that in different ways depending on what we're trying to create. So let's go ahead and extrude, and it goes out 5 millimeters was our default. This time it's going in a positive direction. If I were to reverse it, now positive into a positive, no net gain. We'd have a feature there, but it's not going to do anything because it's pretty much consumed inside of the other part. If we made it uncheck the merge result, it would create a second body, but they're still occupying the same space. It doesn't really help us. All right, so with them merged, we're going to have one solid body. And if for some reason I did want two solid bodies, I can go back in, uncheck the merge result, and I will get that second solid body so that I could do different things, have different strategies available to me. Go back into edit feature, recheck the merge result. Now it goes to one solid body. So that solid body is kind of important because occasionally we will create geometry and it will generate that solid body, and wait a minute, why do I have two solid bodies? I didn't intend to. Where did that come from? All right, so the contrast with a revolve comes into if I were to split these. All right, so I'm going to open up a sketch, and it rotates over, and I'm just going to quarter this. So basically cut it in half again. And so if I draw a quarter and then cut extrude, and we're just going to tell it to go through all. Now with a through all and an open profile, it needs to know what we're cutting. So right now it's going to take out this section of the pie. I want to flip the side to cut, so I only end up with that quarter section. Alright, so what I'm looking at now, if I go back into the front plane, is this is my revolve. When I'm doing the sketches for the revolve, I'm thinking cut this in half, cut it in half again, and then I'm just going to overlay this. You don't have to do this part. It's just more for illustration that it creates similar geometry. And I need a vertical. Since I'm going to be doing the revolve, I'll do the infinite length. And also notice that my origin, which was laying on the top plane, is in the middle of the part because I extruded the bottom one way and the top the other way. Alright, so if I were to put the same types of dimensions in, I'm just going to trace over top of this real quick. Could convert. Actually, I should have converted because it would have got all of them in one shot, but as long as I'm going point to point, I can trace. Alright, and that gives me the geometry. Let's see if I do an undo. That's not going to do all of them. One thing with the down list for the undo, be careful because occasionally it will go way too far. Alright, so if I wanted to go a little quicker, we would convert entities, and that picks up that edge. And now I can go into my revolve boss base, and it creates, there you can see the same geometry. Alright, so when you pick, there's going to be times where as this geometry becomes more complicated, the revolve we can do in one feature what it would take multiple more complex features in the boss extrudes. Alright, so I don't really want that one, so I'm just going to exit and discard changes. I can leave my my cut extrude by suppressing it. So again, suppression just says it's going to be treated as if it doesn't exist. So suppressed, unsuppress, and suppress, and that will get us our driver wheel. So let's go ahead and save it, make sure it goes to the right location. If this doesn't point to our P5-17 because we did that quick template exercise, then you're going to want to navigate back over. And we're going to name this the driver wheel and save.